Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
It's a great day to be a Wildcat!
Cocaine?
Derping?
What's up, everybody? You're listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie. I am your commissioner, Bob Trollsby, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the good chef Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt Marchesini. Tonight, we're going to talk about our predictions for the Wildcats matchup on Friday in Stillwater against the Oklahoma State Cowpokes, and we'll update you on our locks standings, and we'll share our Week 6 locks. Spoiler alert, it's the same as last week. Fireball Matt, do you want to hit us with your burn it down moment from Week 5?
I would love to hit us with a burn it down moment from Week 5, celebrating a bye week, which is great. And so I'm going to celebrate our burn it down moment with nothing sports related. My burn it down moment of the week has to go to my liver after going to a 3-day Indian wedding bender. And the drive back from Dallas yesterday was a little rough, to say the least. But, man, Indians know how to party, I have to say. And if anybody follows me on social media and saw, it was a lot. And my liver is still it's worse than taking 9 fireball shots at a tailgate. Liver's bad. So I'm nominating my liver for the burn it down moment of the week, because it could have killed me, quite frankly.
But you are still alive.
Are you willing to dox the wedding? Like, can you tell us who it was and how good it was?
Yeah. Well, am I going to dox the wedding? So my boy Sim, who I met at my buddy's bachelor cruise in January, and he liked me and my other buddies so much that he invited us to the wedding. And let me tell you, other than him being a huge Texas fan, I guess, and I did a lot of this horns down all weekend to him and his buddies, had a blast. Wedding was amazing. And it was great to celebrate with a new friend, even though he likes Texas. So there's no doxing.
Yeah,
Tell us where they live.
Yeah.
I've never been to an Indian wedding, but from everything I've seen and heard and witnessed through social media, they look like
they party. Oh my God. They drink.
Just the videos you were sending at like 3:00 in the morning to our text feed. I woke up to an Indian man singing at me. I was like, what the fuck?
They served dinner at 10:00 at night, and the reception went until almost 2 a.m, like at a hotel. Think about the people in the rooms above this thing as they're blasting music like it's Tiesto at DJ.
Brazilian weddings are very similar, by the way. One of my best friends, you know him, Joe Marshall, got married last year, and he married his wife is Brazilian, and her family came up from Brazil. And it's tradition in Brazil to start the after party after the wedding at 10. And there were people who were up until 5 a.m. that following morning. And this wedding was in Utah also, by the way. So nobody could buy booze after a certain time. So they just had to make sure they were stocked up well, and they certainly were. But weddings are fun. Weddings are honest.
So
all weddings should be banned altogether, but whatever.
Well, this was during a bye week. So
okay, I guess
yeah, it was during a bye week.
Right. You're right. That's fair.
And if K-State played on a Friday night, last Friday night, that would have been great, because I was drinking already. So now it's just going to be this Friday. But yeah.
Speaking of this Friday, Chef, what is your recipe for success against the Pokes?
When you're in the kitchen, before you can even get to cooking, you got to have the right equipment on. You got to have those slip resistant shoes, because you can't fall. You cannot fall in the kitchen. And if you're falling for shit like trick plays from a desperate Oklahoma State team back against the wall on the road, dude, you're not gonna. It's gonna be hard to win that game if you're falling for shit. You know, Gundy's gonna pull out all the stops. 2-2. You know, a bad loss to a Iowa State team on the road. Now they're back home. Friday, blackout game, another Super Bowl we got to play. How many Super Bowls is K-State going to have to play? I don't know, but you can't fall for shit. So get your slip-resistant shoes on, baby. Come on.
And that's exactly what Hazen Short was asking for. That was what he was asking for.
I
talking about slip-resistant
0 to
shoes
60 on the cooking references.
I listened to the comments, and I will bring more kitchen references into the burn it down moments. I promise. Shout out to Hayes.
Well, what is your actual score prediction for the game?
Mine? You're gonna make me go first?
Yeah, you just gave your recipe for success.
Honestly, you know, we talked a little bit off air. I'm fucking terrified. I am so scared of this game, dude. I don't know how you guys are so chill. Everything is, I don't know the word right here, conducive to us not it being a dogfight, basically. You know, Friday, it's a solo game, night game in Stillwater, blackout. We beat the fuck out of them 48-0 last year. They still remember that. They have a legendary head coach. I don't know. And they're in wounded animal mode. God dang, boy. I'm going to go 27-24 Cats. Chris Tennant, shout out to you, my boy. We're going to need you.
Wow. I can't believe the most hyped up K-State fan ever is thinking this. And the most pessimistic is
how many points did we score in Columbia?
I just don't think I don't think Oklahoma State and Missouri are on the same wavelength as teams. I just don't. I mean,
they're not, but you know,
I like everybody in K-State fandom, the Missouri, like people took the Missouri loss hard in a lot of ways, right? And rightfully so. The execution of our team was not great in that game. Were we a better team than Missouri in that game? I mean, if you execute in that game, we win. They just didn't do it. Oklahoma State is not even close to the Missouri. They're just not. I think it's going to be a 38-14 win. As the most pessimistic of this group, I think defensively, we are going to be a lot better than we were against UCF. I think Oklahoma State is going to try and test our secondary, and I think we're going to get a lot of wins in there. I think we're in a multi-turnover. We're going to be in a positive turnover situation in this game, at least 2 turnovers. I think Will Howard has a great game. Trayshawn Ward coming back. DJ Giddens. I mean, I'm not expecting he's going to have 200 yards rushing, but I think we're going to see more of DJ in that backfield than we had when they were splitting carries. And I think Keegan Johnson's going to score his first touchdown as a Cat. I think we're going to get 38 points. I feel good about this game. I feel confident in what I've seen with Oklahoma State and what I've seen with K-State. And Will Howard, despite, he's thrown it for over 250 yards every game. Like, I see a similarity continuing there. So 38-14, good guess.
5 tutties and 1 field goal, huh?
5 tutties and 1 field goal.
Okay.
I'm going to go 30-17 Cats. So fun fact, Chris Kleiman is 2-2 coming off of the bye, which is an interesting statistic. I think he moves that needle in the win column this year. And here's the thing I'm going to go back to. All last season, I kind of had this line at pretty much every show I would talk about. When the Cats have scored 30 or more points, they are undefeated going back to the TCU game in 2021. The last time K-State lost a game while also putting up 30-plus points was against Oklahoma in 2021. And if you exclude that COVID season, Chris Kleiman has only lost that one game to Oklahoma when scoring 30 or more points, excluding the COVID season. So I think the magic number for K-State is putting up 30 points. We're going to win 30-17. We're barely going to cover because it looks like the line right now is 12.5.
12.5.
But I think Vegas might be on to something. The over-under is 54.5. So this would be under. But
the money is going on. That's why they're moving the line. It's just, I mean, people are flooding. It started at 9.5. 9 started at 9. Then it dropped, I think, to 8.5, and then it just went right that way. So I don't know. I'm nervous. I don't know. By the time, when's this coming out? Is this coming out game day or
Thursday?
Thursday. So, I mean, by then, this is for me. This is what it's going to come down to. I think special teams have been a little bit shaky, not just in the kicking department, but just in general. We've relied on a lot of guys that aren't starters, because usually we have our starters out there. But when you're down Daniel Green, who would participate in some special teams, when you're down now Asa Newsome, when you're down him, he was a stalwart on special teams. You're losing more and more bodies on special teams, which is already, not great right now. So you're really testing the depth. Jake Clifton's just coming back. I mean, he came back surprisingly versus that UCF game, but are we really willing to put starter snaps on him already? I mean, you got Austin Romay, but Austin Romay, somebody's going to have to play special teams, goddammit.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point on special teams. I also think the offense is going to come out humming because you've got Duffy back. You've got Carter Willis, who now has starting experience and has seriously improved the last couple of games after a pretty rocky start. So you've got multiple guys who have good starting experience at that tackle position.
And Pastore's back. He's on the depth chart.
And we can keep Cooper Beebe at his position that he's best at. So I feel like the offense is going to do pretty damn good, knowing that the O-line is going to be comfortable and confident with where they're all at. It's going to be those guys that K-State beef that we thought we were going to have at the beginning of the season for at least hopefully the majority of the season. But, hopefully there's no further injuries, knock on wood. But I feel good about this game, knowing how bad Oklahoma State is. But you do bring up some good points. You do bring up the point that, they beat the shit out of them last year, and maybe they're going to come at us like Mizzou did.
I want to ask Matt something, because Bob brings up a good point. Our O-line is back. And like we talked with Philip Slavin, Oklahoma State's switching to a 3-3-5. That's what we see in practice. That's what we've been practicing this bye week. Good. K-State's defense versus our defense. They're switching to a 3-3-5. Is that an advantage for us? Like, it's got to be, right? But maybe I'm reading into it too much.
Classic. No, I mean, you have to imagine that, yes, it is. You understand the nuances of a 3-3-5 because it is different from a quarterback perspective, and thinking about from the other skill positions and understanding where defensive backs are, where you're going to see linebackers, etc. I mean, you have to assume that it's only going to help you in that regard. It's also going to help Oklahoma State because they practice against it as well. So I do think that it's going to be a little bit of a wash there. I think all that it's going to come down to is execution. And are you going to execute better than the other team? And I think K-State has shown in the first 4 games the capability to execute. Oklahoma State has shown in their first handful of games that they struggle executing on the offensive side of the ball. And I can't, we gave up a lot for UCF, right? Are those athletes at UCF comparable to what we're going to see against Oklahoma State?
Ollie Gordon is. Have you seen that shit house?
No. Huge. I agree. the speed piece of the puzzle is just, I think, a little bit different, and that's what kind of hit us from the rushing side. And Timmy McClain. I mean, they had as you said, they had trick plays that got in. They caught us off guard. They did a great job with that, and that was what they needed.
You don't think Oklahoma State's going to pull any of those after a flea flicker? Did they run a flea flicker in the Missouri game? They got behind us on something.
I thought didn't we throw a flea flicker into that game?
Yeah,
one of those. But I think it's gonna be a lot of what we saw versus UCF. Just a lot of trick plays, a lot of.
Okay.
Nervous.
The UCF game, we dominated that game. If you think about it, we scored 44 points in that game. They scored a late touchdown. It was a 20-point game.
We scored 20 of them in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
or not 20 of them. Yeah,
in the fourth quarter. I mean,
all the games that Texas is winning right now, they're winning in the third and fourth quarter. So
yeah,
what are we saying about Texas's offense? That they're sluggish and that they're like, they're not that very good.
It's hard. Like you can compare this because it's a game on the road, similar to Missouri, but I just think the trajectory of the two teams is vastly different. And you're seeing Missouri, like they beat Vanderbilt this weekend. Vanderbilt sucks, but their team, that Missouri looks good.
That's what I said.
And Oklahoma State just doesn't look good.
They looked better.
They looked better, but the way Philip mentioned on the last show, what's a way that Oklahoma State's going to win this game? And as much as, they're going to have to really do what they need to do, we're going to have to really shit the bed on many facets in this game if they're in a position where Oklahoma State's going to win. That's how I truly believe. I mean, Will's going to have more. Will's going to have to throw multiple interceptions, and our defense, gets burned. The secondary gets burned, and Alan Bowman has a day. I don't see this being I just don't see this game being 17-14, like, a low scoring game. I mean, I don't know. It's very weird that I'm the one that is saying all this. Like, this is typically coming from you.
I want you to get me over. I'm dying for you to tell me otherwise.
I would feel like if we were playing Texas Tech this week over Oklahoma State, which obviously next week's going to be, if we swap these games, I would probably feel very similar to you, because Tech's coming off a big win, and they've shown, despite their quarterback being hurt, they've shown a lot of promise. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll eat my words on Saturday morning after this game.
Not.
But
I hope
there's just a lot. There's a lot of things that I look at this matchup, and I mean, the crowd, and this might feel like the last game where really shit's on the line. I get that, but I think we're the more complete football team that has proven, even in the Missouri game. I mean, I don't know. I don't. The Missouri game for me is a little bit of an outlier because I think Missouri is a good team. And Saturday, they play LSU. If they beat LSU, your mindset, I think everybody listening to this, your mindset's going to be completely different about Missouri if they beat LSU this weekend.
Watch the revisionist history after they beat LSU and they see LSU's records 3-3, and they're like, "Oh, that LSU team's not very fucking good."
It's not. No, I don't think it is a good LSU team.
So we can't do both. You can't do both. You can't say LSU's not a very good team and then say, "Oh, Missouri's a pretty good team because they beat LSU."
I'm not saying that LSU's not a good team. They lost to an Ole Miss team that's ranked in the top 15.
Yeah,
no,
and
they weren't.
Okay, Ole Miss was the top 20 team that they lost to this weekend by how many points? Wasn't it a close game? Like 3 points?
It was
down to the end.
Very close game.
And LSU lost to a Florida State team that's in the top 4.
Yeah,
I mean,
Ole Miss was
I agree.
20th, and they lost 55-49 to
I mean, LSU, if they're 3-2 right now, whatever. Like, I mean, if they go and lose to Missouri, you could say maybe LSU's not as good as the preseason ranking, but like, I don't know. I think a lot of people, if Missouri beat LSU this weekend, a lot of people will be like, "Dang, we went on the road and like Missouri's a really good team."
For me, if the predictions come out to what you guys say, I think it says a lot more about what the top 4 of this conference can be, handle business versus the bad teams in this conference. And then, just separate yourselves more and more. And I really, honestly, I hope that's what happens. Like, I really, really want K-State to handle business on the road on a Friday, standalone game, sit back and relax on Saturday and let the chips fall where they may with, the top 2 teams in the conference playing each other. This could be absolutely exactly what K-State needs. I just want them to handle business. Actually, just come away with a win anyway. Like, even if it's my way, I need to just have a dub. You need it.
The benefit to Missouri's schedule is they are in the SEC East, and they will get tested multiple times throughout the rest of the schedule. They've got Kentucky's going to be a damn good test for them. Georgia's going to be a damn good test for them, and they're looking a little shaky if we're being realistic here. And then Tennessee is going to be a good test, and so I think if we're looking back on this, they've already got 5 wins. They're gonna get probably at least, I would say maybe South Carolina, Florida, and Arkansas. That's 3 wins. That gets them to 8 wins. That's Drinkwitz's best season so far at Missouri. And if you win 1 or 2 of those games against LSU, Kentucky, Georgia, or Tennessee, I think we're looking at this season of Mizzou as a success, and we're looking at that as a very good quality loss, if you want to call it that, for K-State. It sucked in the moment. We didn't feel that way about Missouri last year, but Missouri's clearly doing something right so far this season, is what I would say. But all of that to say, you haven't predicted very good locks this year so far, Andre. So,
I mean, it's the thing about it is, the history of what could be happening if Missouri's really, really good, and how it happened 3rd game of the season, just like last year. Tulane, we thought the sky was fucking falling.
Tulane was a 2-10 team the year before we played them.
Yep, and they turned out to be Cotton Bowl champions. And they were a really good team, and it's just so weird that it could be happening again. And if the history replays itself, we're all smiling at the end of the year, baby.
On that note, week 6 locks. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, each week we share our locks for 3 Big 12 matchups, 1 national game of the week, and 1 sickos game of the week. There's a sicko down there. His name's Andre. He's not very good at picking his locks. For the 2nd week in a row, I led the way with a 3-2 record, and I have improved to 14-11 overall through 5 weeks. Matt is still in first place overall, but clean by a thread at this point after essentially, dominating through the first 4 weeks. Went 2-3 last week and has a much smaller lead, with essentially a 1-game lead on me, if you were to put it that way. You've got 1 push, though, so kind of depends on how you calculate the win percentages there. But Andre's locks brought up the caboose yet again. I think it's 4 weeks running, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 3 weeks running with a 1-4 record, bringing him to a dismal 9-14-2 record overall. What do you have to say for yourself, Chef?
Watch this 5-0, baby. 5-0's incoming. Tactical nuke incoming. Dropping a whole bomb on this thing. Let's go.
Yeah, Chef's been dropping deuces the past 3 weeks. There's nothing that proves you're dropping anything other than a deuce.
This dog turd's for you, baby.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So week 6, we'll kick it off with me. Big 12. And just for the record, I'm not even touching Red River this week. I think both of you picked Red River. I'm not even touching that game. I feel really weird about it. I just don't. I think maybe some weird stuff's going to happen, but I'm not going on the record because I didn't feel comfortable picking that game. My 3 Big 12 games. Number 1, I've got Baylor -1.5 versus Texas Tech in the Butt Bowl. I think Baylor's going to be riding a high after how they came out in that UCF game and won in the biggest comeback victory in school history. So I feel good about Baylor going into that matchup against Texas Tech. It is kind of a rivalry game, I guess. The Butt Bowl, it's Old Southwest Conference. So it'll be a fun game, I think, regardless. TCU, I've got -6.5 at Iowa State. I don't see Iowa State really even putting up a fight, even though TCU really looked a little suspect last week. I just don't. They're going to be chanting hot seat. Whatever TCU fans are there are going to be chanting hot seat in Ames. And I think TCU is going to make some adjustments after last week in kind of stumbling in that West Virginia matchup. For the national game, I have Washington State +3.5 at UCLA. I just haven't seen what I would need to see from UCLA in order to think that they're a good enough team to beat Washington State with what I've seen from Washington State this season. I think Wazzy's pretty damn good. I just don't see it. So I'm taking the dog there. In my sickos game, I have Rice -9.5 versus UConn, the Huskies. I like Rice this season. Rice is looking all right with JT Daniels, toe sucker extraordinaire.
Oh my God.
Matt, throw it over to you.
I'm dying at that. All right. So, as you said, I am picking the Red River Shootouts. I'm taking Texas as 6.5-point favorites over OU. Couple reasons. I think this is the game where OU gets exposed just a little bit. I'm not saying OU's not a good team. I just see this being a pretty this will be like a 38-30 situation where Texas covers. So I think Texas will take that one. I am going to take UCF as 3.5-point dogs in Lawrence this weekend. And here's why. I think there's a lot of obviously things being talked about, Jalen Daniels and everything that's going around in that program. I think UCF's going to come out after the Baylor game and just be like, that was not us, that went out there and fucked around in that game. And I think they're going to game plan against the KU defense, which has shown some struggles, especially against Texas and in other games this season. So I think UCF will cover that. Do I think UCF's going to win the game? I kind of do, but it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a very, very close game, and KU's not going to cover the 3.5. Oh my God. Shut up down there. And then I am going to take TCU 6.5-point favorites against Iowa State. I think TCU is going to go on the road and take care of business, as Mr. Trollsby said. My national game of the week, Alabama is a 2.5-point favorite at Texas A&M. I just don't know about that. It's 2.5 points.
That's a little
I think it is that's a very suspect game to me. Vegas is always right, I know, but man, I just don't know. I just think Alabama's a better team than A&M. I know A&M's going to come up for that. That's a big game for them, but I think Alabama's going to definitely win by more than 2.5. And then my sicko game of the week, South Florida Bulls. Going on the road to Trent Dilfer's UAB Blazers, Dragons?
The Blazers, yeah.
Blazers.
Nice job. Trent Dilfer got pissed on the sideline.
Trent Dilfer in the news.
I'm not letting him talk to me like that. We'd have been fighting.
Yeah, really?
With the bag on my head, I'd have been throwing my head back.
USF's a 3.5-point favorite on the road at UAB. I think USF covers that game as my sicko pick of the week. Let's take it to the Bagman.
Bagman in the building. it's unfortunate I got to stay in this thing. It's kind of like torture, but when you got two guys, bullying you and picking together on picks, it's what happens. They're just intermingled together, fraternity brothers, butt brothers, who knows? Let's start these picks off. Last week I took a flyer on all road dogs, so I'm not going to do that anymore. But I am going to go, speak out of turn and say I think Iowa State can keep it a little bit close at home, 6.5 point dogs. But I think they're gonna keep it within reason. TCU's struggling, man. That West Virginia game. Fans were not happy about that shit. But I think Iowa State, let's go, baby. Just keep it within a touchdown, you scrubs, you Charlie Brown fucks. Tech on the road at Baylor. I'm going Oppo Taco of Bob's pick. Let's go. Come on. You got to be shitting me if fucking Tech's the thing. How are they not the favorite here? That doesn't make any sense. They're a way better team than Baylor.
Their quarterback is a glass boy, and he's out for his career again.
Yeah, well, whatever. On the road, Baylor. That was their Super Bowl versus UCF. So let's go. Tech plus the points. I can't believe I have to say that. They should be the favorite. That the wrong team's favored. Then I'm going opposite. No, actually, I'm with Matt. Ooh, I might have to revisit this. No, but I'm gonna take Texas minus the points. Everybody's saying Texas is the big boy on campus. Let's see if they can do it in one of the biggest rivalries in sports. But Texas minus 6.5. Let's go. National game. Notre Dame. They struggled versus those Dukies last week, but I think they can. I don't know. It's tough. They look bad, but Louisville's 5-0. Are we serious? Louisville, ACC champions. Are they still in division play? I'm not sure. I think they might be. Are they coastal? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think they're coastal. Let's go. Louisville plus the points. At home? Come on. Don't lose by a tutty. You have to keep it close.
Remind me, what are the divisions in the ACC? Is it coastal and inland? Like, what is
Atlantic? Coastal and Atlantic.
Yeah.
What are they going to do when they add Stanford, SMU, and Cal?
I don't. Coastal and national.
Coastal and Bristol.
Oh yeah, you get SMU. Bristol division.
Okay, so let's get this back on the rails. Give me Louisville plus the points.
And this is never on the rails. I don't know why.
I'm designed to be off the rail.
I'm literally wearing a bag on my head. So, sicko game. Here we go. Let me ask you this. Did you know Middle Tennessee State is 1-4? And Jacksonville State's 4-1. And Michigan State, Mid Tennessee State is fucking favored? That's crazy talk. That's insane. I hope you can see my eye and how bulgy they are in here. That's crazy.
We can't.
Jacksonville State plus 3.5. I'm taking those points, man. Come on. Jacksonville State's the better team. Better record. Let's go. I think they're flaming cocks. I'm not sure. Gamecocks. Let's go.
I mean, for lack of wins in the lock segment, you do have an incredible heat when it comes to just like picking. And I don't know, your commentary just takes the cake here.
Thanks.
You win in that department. That's
the bag
you have. Then
it's so much better with the bag too. To see this favorite bag just moving.
It feels like it's falling off all
you
the time.
Get real close, and you're like, really? And it's just a bag on your face. Oh God, the podcast, the audio only listeners just are missing out on so much. Not watching this on YouTube, but It is what it is. Well, do we have a guys talking ball segment this week, Chef? Do you want to get into something? This is the shortest episode we've had all year, except for our quick hits.
I mean, are we cursed with injury luck?
No.
Like I hate seeing it, man. I hate those are the worst ones. Like the in-game ones are tough that you have to see them, but just like news breaking that a player got hurt in practice, like that's disgusting, dude. I hate that. That is
every team, though. Every team has someone get hurt in practice.
Hey, at least it's not, when Bruce Weber would have 3 guys with a foot injury every year.
The classic K-State boot.
It's like he was slamming 30-pound dumbbells on his players' feet.
Oh my God.
That brings up a really good point. I feel like the training regimen and just the health of K-State basketball now compared to the Bruce Weber era.
Why the fuck did you say that? This is going to be – I can't wait to quote that.
So far,
3 months.
So far, it's been pretty damn good.
I like how Tyler Perry's looking. He's looking in so much better shape. It's crazy. Insane. I mean, I don't know if we're going to go down a basketball rabbit hole right here, but I mean, Quez Glover – he looked legit too. I mean, they were playing video games, but I'm like, okay, I could see this guy he could be the Desi role and just light it up. Let's go, man. So
non-conference schedule. What's the record?
Ooh, I like this.
That's a good question.
I was doing this the other day.
The USC game.
You want to go? Oh, Bronny's playing in that, by the way.
I didn't think he said he was playing in that, but LeBron said he's going to play this season.
I thought they said he's cleared.
I didn't think he was cleared yet.
I just saw it. I mean, it was on 3. Bronny
LeBron.
News.
Bronny James intends to play for USC this season.
I guess it doesn't say when, but.
While he has not rejoined the Trojans, who began practice for the 23 season last week, he's on campus taking classes. He's begun his rehab process to get back on the floor.
I mean, I'm looking at this non-conference schedule, and realistically, I don't know how stout USC is going to be. I don't know how good they're going to be.
They're going to be good.
They're going to be pretty talented.
They're going to be good. They have a player that I think is better in this recruiting class that is better than Bronny.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
he was like the number 1 player, wasn't he?
He was
like the number 1 point guard.
But I mean, I look at this schedule, and really the USC game is the only one that stands out to me as a loss. Like,
that's not where I was going. I thought you were going to say the only one that stands out.
I think this is the best. This is probably the best non-conference schedule we've assembled in
a long time.
Just
looking at it, just like Villanova. I mean, after what I saw, I went to the Butler game last year, and I know it's at home, but just those Big East challenges. I mean, we had the Marquette debacles, but Villanova, that scares the piss out of me, dude. I know they haven't been very good, but it's still brand name Villanova.
Yeah, I'm just not sold in whoever the Jay Wright successor is there. Based on last season, I just wasn't seeing it from Nova last year. I think Providence is going to be interesting with who did they hire? Kim English?
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. Like, he knows what it's like to play in Bramlage. He knows how to prepare those guys for what it's going to be like to play in Bramlage.
Well, the interesting part about that game is it's being played in the Bahamas.
Oh, shit.
So
yeah,
that's right.
That might
put a damper on things.
That puts a little bit of a damper.
Yeah, that was a really stupid comment.
Damn.
And then you got
what, Miami and or Georgia, whichever one.
Miami or Georgia.
I think Miami's clearing that.
I think Miami is gonna, because I'm pretty sure they've returned a good portion of that team. Here's the thing I'm going to say. USC game, if we were playing USC in December, I think USC will get better as the non-conference season plays. And if they get Bronny back, because I do think Bronny James is a really good player. there's a lot about that. There's a lot about that USC game that makes me think having experience players who have made big plays in situations outside of home games is going to really play dividends in that game. I think the preparation that this team is going to have, obviously before, but just having guys who are seniors and who are experienced in those types of games, I think it's going to be huge. I think a game that could easily be won. I think we will lose one game in the non-conference.
Only one.
I think we're going to lose one game. And I think it's going to be the game at LSU.
Ew, yuck.
I know. But here's why.
If we play Miami, do you think we beat Miami?
Do you think we're champions in the Bahamas?
Okay.
That's basically what.
That's basically what I said. I think we lose to Miami, and I think we lose at LSU.
So that's two. That's double what you just said.
Yes, it is. It is. The LSU one, like, Butler was an ass team last year. And you think about how our team progressed and how our team's going to get better. The first game on the road is the toughest game. And USC, I mean, yeah, you're going to have a pro USC crowd in that game. I mean, K-State is probably not bringing 5,000 fans in that arena. But I think there's going to be a lot in that first game where you're going to get jitters from a lot of these guys. And that's why I think we'll win USC. But the first game on the road, LSU would probably be ranked, probably be in the top 25. I think that's a game we could potentially stumble. I really do. Just like Butler last year. Because, I mean, you think about how good our team was towards the end of last season. But that Butler game, we looked bad. Now, Chef isn't going to be there. So maybe it was Chef's fault. Maybe we'll beat LSU by 30 because Chef's not in attendance, right?
Well, that Butler game was tough. Just God, it was so different than what the end of the season turned out to be, because I thought we had no post presence. It was the first real road test that we had where, like you were saying, Matt, they totally switched up how they did things now on their road preparation. They totally switched it up. They had to. It was the first test. And from then, they were a decent road team last year. The game that spooks me, I know they lost some players from that South Dakota State team, but that's usually a pretty decent program in South Dakota State. And it's right before we go to the Bahamas. It's 4 days before we go to the Bahamas.
Down spot, yeah.
It could be a very big look ahead spot into a tournament that we're defending champions in. I could see it being a letdown spot and a sneaky game. I just don't know how talented South Dakota State is because I haven't done any research on that team, but I know they lost a player that was pretty good. I was also thinking that he was the Grant Nelson kid from North Dakota State, but there was a South Dakota State player on that team that was pretty freaking good too. But
Baylor Shireman was a guy that transferred to Creighton from South Dakota State, who was that perimeter
2 years
player.
ago, right?
Yes,
he was really good.
So you brought up the Miami game, and if we beat Providence, which people have said Providence could be a top half Big East team this year, even with Kim English's first year. But I think Miami is going to have a 2-guard set that is going to be one of the best 2-guard sets we're going to play all season. Obviously, Nigel Pack. Yeah.
Okay.
Easily, obviously, Nigel Pack, but Wooga Poplar was a great player for Miami last season, especially in the NCAA tournament run. And then Norchad Omier, that big center, that big, forward they have, dominated guys. I mean, that Texas game in the Elite Eight, he's going to be a matchup problem for us. He's going to be a matchup problem.
I would say so. Yeah.
And so that's why, I think in that tournament, we beat Providence. I think Providence is an NCAA tournament team. But I think Miami's going to have the best 2-guard set. We're probably going to play in the Big 12. I guess, KU will have Jalen Wilson.
Houston.
Or not. Who the hell is DeJuan Harris and whoever the fuck KU's going to put at shooting guard. But I mean, Houston, didn't they lose one of their guards though? No,
I think they lost one of their guards, but they brought in
they brought
in.
They brought in
or not Flagler.
No, who's the Baylor guy? LJ Cryer.
Yeah,
Cryer. Yeah, we wanted him. And then Texas, they brought in A. Smith, and they already had old boys coming back too.
I mean,
this is not a basketball pod yet, so we're just kind of spitballing.
But Miami's going to be a top 3 guard team that we're going to play this season. So I think early on it's going to be really tough. Like
did Providence lose the one Hoskins?
Bryce Hopkins.
Because
I thought his
coach went to Georgetown, but
I think he's still at Providence. I think Bryce Hopkins. He's also a very good player. I mean, people say that Providence is going to be an NCAA tournament team. The great part about this schedule, I mean, I can't remember who said it, but this is going to be a really good schedule to prep for Big 12 play. Number one, you're getting a USC game. That's going to be a prime game. Like first night like this, that's a big brand thing for us.
You said that USC was going to bring a lot of fans, dude. Nobody comes to USC football games.
Yeah, but you know what? Games. You know what? It's a game in Vegas, and
who else is in that tournament?
A lot of US. Well, it's not really a tournament, but like, there's a women like this evening session. The evening session has LSU women, LSU women.
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna have a lot of LSU people in there. And
I feel like Oregon's playing there too.
Yeah, Oregon, I think, is playing in like the afternoon or there's 2 sessions, so there's 4. But a lot of USC fans probably bought tickets to this because they thought Bronny James and probably LeBron are going to be there, and you never know. But like the overall theme stands. Like Jerome Tang put together a non-conference schedule that we've been kind of
asking for.
This is what we want. And if, on a yearly basis, he's putting together a neutral site game like this, and the Nebraska game at home, like people are going to be up for that game. Wichita State and Kansas City. I mean,
and there too.
The Big East Challenge. I mean, we're going to be on the road next year, probably to a really good Big East team, which will be, great. But if this is what he's going to do on a yearly basis, as somebody who loves basketball and loves, this is going to be really great for our brand if we're playing in big games like this. I mean, Nebraska and Wichita State are not big games. They're only big games for us because it's a regional game. I mean, Wichita State's a regional team. Nebraska is historically a rival. Not in basketball, but still Nebraska. And you bring Villanova and Bramlage, albeit on a Tuesday, which very much sucks. The hope is maybe in future seasons we get a Saturday game, big game on a Saturday, non-conference.
Are any of those Big East challenges usually on a Saturday?
Those games I don't believe they're spread out. I think throughout the week.
I think we played Butler on a Thursday.
That was like a Tuesday or Wednesday, I think.
Wednesday. Yeah, it was a Wednesday.
But if we can get a bit, I think on KSO, Tang was even talking to Duke about a game,
That would have been fucking nuts.
Obviously, I mean, you're playing in Cameron Indoor, like that's a game that it's going to be very much of a struggle as a K-State fan to even get a ticket for that. But, if you're getting home games like that, that just shows a different mindset of, hey, you want K-State to be a brand of a school that other bigger brands want to play. So that brings some excitement. I mean, when they announced the schedule fully, we knew the big games already, but and obviously Big 12 play is going to be very fun. We'll talk about that as we get closer to the fall, but damn.
Shout out to Marco Bourne, because I think he does a lot of this scheduling and, getting teams to fit like a glove and reaching out, because I don't think under the Weber administration that they reached out to these big name teams. They didn't even give them a chance. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool to see that we're going to have a very talented team get tested versus very talented teams as well. And there's the good, like Matt would say this, you would say this, Bob, that, and any basketball fan would know this college wise, that if you're putting really good tests on the schedule, it's not going to hurt you. If you lose it, so be it. But if you're winning these games, dude, that only helps you. And you already know going into, now I will say this, we're bringing in a lot of big basketball brands, but it's a little diluted. Is it a little diluted? Would you say? I mean, Cincinnati's not as what they used to be. UCF is absolute dog shit. Who's the other teams that? And then Houston. Really good.
I mean,
BYU is kind of.
They have their moments, right? They've had their moments.
But that's not a brand that if you got 3 of those teams, Cincinnati maybe, but if you got 3 of those on your schedule, that dilutes your Big 12 schedule more than it like last year, where it was every single game was, a quad one.
BYU historically has had a very good basketball program.
And they play in a big ass arena.
Yeah, they're playing in a 19,000, 20,000 seat arena. I mean, it's a great environment. But I understand what you're saying. Like,
is it a quad one?
This year, probably not. But I mean,
and you got 2 of them. We got 2 draws versus BYU. Like,
yeah,
I think that's good for us though, because that gives us an opportunity to win maybe an easy game and maybe get a matchup where in a pretty grueling conference schedule, you're gonna need a night to kind of recoup and have a little bit of an easier test. Like, opening conference play with UCF is such a huge gift, I think, on this schedule. And like, I love that we get BYU twice. I love that
I don't like that.
I love that we get BYU twice, just because, I mean, how many other teams in the conference are going to get like
longer the days where every Big 12 team is going to be like a quad one win, or every Big 12 team is going to be a quad one game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how conference realignment is going to be. And next year, I mean, you're going to bring in obviously Arizona and Arizona State, who historically, or at least recently, have been, Arizona is way above the 3, but Arizona State historically, or recent history, been a quad one.
And Colorado could be quad 1 or quad 2 with what's
Colorado,
happening.
And they're bringing in crazy talent
out of that.
Yes. Utah's the team in that group that basketball, like, they have not seen a lot of recent success.
Shout out to Andre Miller for the Utah Utes. Let's go.
Shout out to Jack Gardner for leaving K-State for Utah in the 50s. Why on earth did he do that? But hey, he gave us Tech's winner.
Yeah. I mean, the Big 12 is going to definitely, the landscape of the Big 12 will change, and it's going to become 8 or 10 teams in this conference that are going to be really good programs, and you're going to have 6 that are fighting to really like try and scrap up wins. And I think we're really positioned where, I mean, when Arizona comes in next year, they're coming in as a top 3 team in the Big 12. And I mean,
Houston,
you don't even know who they're going to have, and they're going to come in as a top 3 team in the Big 12. But you have a team like Houston this year, where Houston's going to get tested in a lot of conference play this year. And last year, obviously an incredible team. Could they be more talented this year and have they're going to be more talented this year and have a worse record?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be absolute chaos at the top. I mean, if Kansas State can fulfill on what we think they can be, Houston, you know what you're getting. Baylor, absolute consistent program. Kansas, elite.
Tech will be better with McCaslin, I think, than they were with Mark Adams.
Maybe. It's going to be a different style. It's going to go back to the old retro like Tech, where they're going to beat the shit out of you. And I can't remember what their stadium's called, but you go down to Lubbock
Markets Arena.
Yeah, you go down to Lubbock, you're gonna be in a battle It's
Iowa State salty.
Iowa State's going to be good.
Yeah.
Iowa State's going to be really
West
good.
Virginia,
talent wise, they got to figure out the coach because they can attract talent there. They have the name. They've been consistent in the Big 12. It's just all about what can the newcomers hold up their end historically and promise what could be teams that could elevate.
I mean, and the thing I think is really a good thing to think about as a K-State fan base. If you look at when TCU came into the Big 12 and Trent Johnson was the coach, they were shit. I mean, I don't think they won one game in their first season. Second season, they went 1-6, 1-17, or
remember that
2-16.
They played in the high school basketball arena because they were doing
and we fucking lost that game. That was so annoying.
Embarrassing.
But you bring in a good coach and you change the dynamic, and that's what some of these programs are going to end up doing. I mean, UCF has Johnny Dawkins as their coach. I mean, if he doesn't make the ends, if he doesn't show progression in the next couple seasons, you make the right hire in basketball, just like K-State did. Like, that changes the complexion of the thing right now.
Yeah, and the way college basketball is set up, you could see a rise like how Florida Atlantic did. You get enough talent on these teams, and you keep kids retained. There's no reason why UCF can't recruit a couple Florida kids and then get. I mean, you just get anybody out of the transfer portal to be like, hey, we could be an up and coming team with the right coach. You could see a rise like Florida Atlantic. There's no reason why a team like UCF can't do it.
Teams that should be scared are like Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Hasn't seen a ton going on. I mean, coming in the Big 12 next year, like Utah. And I mean, Colorado, they've been good. Tad Boyle's been there a long time. They have one of the top players in the Pac-12.
The number one player in the recruiting class.
Yeah. I mean, Colorado's going to come in, but there are teams in the Big 12 right now. I mean, Iowa State is one. Iowa State's
that I would be a little concerned with post Huggins.
West Virginia, maybe they obviously have brought in really good players from the transfer portal, and they're paying money out the ass to get them. And so if Josh Eilert's not the answer this year, they're going to bring in another coach who's better, and
he's definitely a holdover.
He's definitely a holdover, almost like Frank Martin. I mean, if Eilert has a good season, I mean, he could be the guy, so
maybe.
I'm not saying he is, but there is something there that kind of, correlates at least a little bit. That's, the Big 12 this season, I think there's going to be a lot of parity in the conference, and it's going to be determined at some point during the season. You're going to hear people saying it's not as good as last year because the records are going to indicate that it's not as good as last year, but the teams could be stronger despite, because they're beating up on each other, especially towards the top 6 or 8. It's going to be dependent on, who's got the best conference schedule. I think we've got a pretty good situation, especially with the teams that we have to play twice, that could really help us out.
What do we think about Cincinnati with Wes Miller? Like he turned them around a little bit from where they were. He got them to the NIT quarterfinals last year and a 23-13 record in the American, which is a pretty respectable overall record. Do we see them drop off entering Big 12 play? I mean, they will drop off, but how big of a drop off do we see, I guess, with Cincinnati? And do you think he can continue to build that program up the way he has?
Historically, they have all the tools to compete. They just have to recruit a lot better, hit the transfer portal. But they're a C. It's bad for me to say C, but like you have the elite blue bloods, then you have the B level teams right there. And then, I mean, Cincinnati, they have history, they have everything, and they're recruit great Ohio players. If they could just get it right with the right coach and acclimate themselves to the Big 12 and, just withstand and not be a bottom feeder for a while, I think they can get their head above water and sustain themselves in a conference that's, wide open for that 5th or 6th spot.
Yeah, I mean, they have a couple big transfers. CJ Frederick is one of them from Kentucky, and then they picked up that big 7-footer from Utah Valley that we recruited. So they're bringing in some good talent. I would say they're probably going to be the second best team out of the 4 coming in this season. Obviously, Houston will be number 1. I think Houston will be number 1.
Right.
I think BYU is going to need a little bit of they're going to have a little bit. They're going to hit a reset button a little bit.
I mean, it sounds like they can't figure out their NIL stuff. We got 2 recruiting wins from the transfer portal because of BYU's NIL bullshit.
I mean, if you listen to what what's his name?
Quest Glover.
Quest Glover, I don't think the rumor on the street that it was NIL, but I don't think I think their head coach is a psychopath.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the case. I would say out of the 4 teams, though, this season, the long-term stability and program, BYU is going to be the one that will get their act together. Because
so?
I do, because I think historically you see BYU and like Robbie Toronto will agree with me. Obviously, big BYU fan, but
huge alum.
That home court advantage is really good. And what you see there is you have obviously the fan support that gets recruits excited, but they have proven over time like they can be really good. I think I'm not saying they're like going to be like the TCU like I've been talking about before, but that is a team that they can put something together consistently and be a top 8 team in the conference. I do believe that. I think Houston's going to be one where after Sampson leaves, that's going to be a little bit of it's going to be very interesting to see how you rebuild after that. I mean, he's old.
I think it's a hot job, though. I think it'll be a hot job.
I think it'll be better than it was before. I mean, Kelvin Sampson is a great coach. He did a phenomenal job at Oklahoma when he was in the conference with Oklahoma. He had the Griffin twins there when he was there. You're just going to have to hire well. Like Houston has a ton of history and has the Phi Slamma Jamma that you can point to. They've got a ton of recent success as well. I think it'll be a well sought after job when he does leave. You just have to hire well and hire right.
Yep.
You can't hire the Dana Holgerson of basketball. Like that's just not going to be that's not going to be a good thing for you. If you're
would that be Bob Huggins?
Would that be Bob Huggins? Oh God, they would just go back to the West Virginia well.
I would die.
Coaching hire.
That would actually be hilarious.
Oh my God. Well, we're just over an hour. I like the basketball talk though. This is good. It's a bi-week tradition at this point to talk basketball during the football season. But for all of us here at Cocaine Willie, thank you for listening to the show on your podcast or your podcast feeds or watching us on YouTube. Do us a favor. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating and follow the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. You can follow the show on Twitter or Instagram or follow us individually. I am at Bob Trollsby. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier and Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini. Chef.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
We are all coke and no joke. Wildcat Country.
Freaking.
Well, freaking Ron.
That's right.